Welcome back to the Nutrition Made Simple podcast. At Healthy Steps Nutrition, we believe something as fundamental as nutrition shouldn't be complicated, which is why we focus on a simple, habit-based approach when working with clients. We know that helping people become the best and healthiest versions of themselves isn't just about what you eat. We look at stress management, mindset, exercise, sleep, support system, lifestyle, and of course, nutrition. We work with clients to create a simple and actionable plan to take one step at a time to become the healthiest version of themselves. I'm your host, Nicole Aucoin, registered dietitian and founder of Healthy Steps Nutrition, CrossFit HSN, and HSN Mentoring. I'm also the author of the Healthy Kids Cookbook, 100% kid-approved recipes the entire family will love. In this podcast, you will learn how to take one step at a time to become the healthiest version of yourself. Today's episode was a little bit tough for Jason and I. My husband and I recorded a podcast after we found out that one of our fellow CrossFit affiliate owners unfortunately passed away due to suicide. Mental health is on the rise. I looked up some research, and one of the studies done comparing people that said they had mental health issues, specifically depression and anxiety, back in 2019, said 1 in 10 people. When the same survey was sent out in January of 2021, 4 in 10 people had said that they have been suffering from anxiety and depression. We're looking up some research with past podcast episodes. There's one podcast episode that we did on anxiety, depression, food, and mood. And that book we had the author of the book called Your Brain on Food. And that podcast, we talked about how antidepressants were up significantly this year and towards the end of 2020. I know for me personally, I had never battled with anxiety, depression, or any type of mental issues until this year. In today's podcast episode, we talk about something that brought back a lot of hardship for Jason when he was at the fire department, and how we kind of got through it and what we got through a tough season this year. This podcast isn't meant to be treatment or to take in place of talking to a mental health counselor or a therapist. The goal of this podcast today is really just to bring light and destigmatize mental health. If you are struggling, please reach out to someone, reach out to a therapist. At Healthy Steps Nutrition HQ, we are working on getting a list of therapists in every single state. I was talking to our team this week on the mentoring side, and a lot of even the kids on the mentoring team, the parents and their kids were struggling with some mental health issues as well. And one of the things that they said that was the biggest struggle was finding a good therapist. And Jason and I talk a little bit about our experience with that specifically in today's podcast episode, but I just want to make it easy for people to find the professional help that they need. Again, if you're struggling, please reach out, ask for help. Know that you are not alone. I hope you not enjoy this episode. I mean, I guess you can probably everyone can relate to it, but I hope that it brings some light and makes everyone feel like they're not alone if you are struggling. Jay, welcome to the Nutrition Made Simple podcast.
Thanks for having me back, Nicole.
Today's episode might be a little bit tough and emotional, but I think it's super important. We've seen so much mental health. I think we're honestly in a mental health crisis right now. And I think the stories that we're going to share today are going to hopefully inspire some people to take action. I want to go back about 5 years ago when I personally was first introduced to the catastrophic events that can happen when mental health issues don't get taken care of. Talk to me a little bit about what happened in 2015-16 timeframe.
Yeah, so hopefully most of you know that I worked for the fire department for my first career besides coaching. I spent 15 years with Pompano Beach Fire Rescue, spent a couple years in Tampa as well. And in the fire industry, there's a history of PTSD, and I think it's an unknown, nobody wants to talk about it. And sadly, we've lost, I want to say, about 3 to 4 people now over the last 5 years due to suicide at the fire department. And about 5 or 6 years ago, at the time, my friend Rich, who was our union president, I was the vice president. He was also my captain and a good friend. We traveled together. We went and lobbied up in the state capital together, and we spent many trips away. And I mean, he was a family friend. He was out on the boat with us several times with his wife and kids. And Rich came over to our house the day before the tragic event of him taking his life. He came over and he was dropping off a pressure cleaner for me to clean the boat, and everything was fine. We sat in the kitchen and we talked about buying houses out west and having large families, and we drank a beer, and he left. And the next morning, he took his life, and it was, I went through all the emotions, and I just kept, I know people were upset and mad, and I never got mad at them. It was, I think because I was so close, it was actually the opposite. Instead of getting mad at him for like, why did you do this? It was, why didn't you tell me you needed some help? Like, why didn't you, I just wish that he could have said, hey, I need help, because all of us would have done something for him, and he was too prideful, or he didn't ask for help. And, it was a tough time. I mean, I think even today, now that some things have, rekindled what happened over the last 2 days, I think it's brought back some tough times for me and how to process that, because there really is no processing it, Nicole. I mean, it's always going to be there, and we put it away in the back of our head and compartmentalize it and just think that it's going to be, and it's helped change the way you and I handle things. And I think if anything, that's come of it, but not to say we did the best at it, but it's definitely helped the way we've handled our situations.
I think you guys all rallied around his wife, who was pregnant at the time, and she had a beautiful little son. And we were a part of that family for a long time before they moved to Georgia. And I think the community aspect of the fire department was so amazing to come together and support him. And I think you're right. I think, as you were processing that and you ended up getting help, you weren't sleeping, you were struggling. You're like, man, he was at our house less than 24 hours before he took his life. Like, how could I have not seen it? And I think that's the scariest thing for people who are struggling with mental health issues is there's people who, like, you look at them and you're like, man, this person's struggling and they need help. And I just want to like guide them to some support or support them myself in any way. And then there's the other people that have this like front that they're struggling so deep inside and you don't know. And those are the people that I hope this episode touches today, because like, this mental health issues don't discriminate, right? Like, we all struggle, and the difference between people who are able to move through it are the people that get the help and support they need. And in my opinion, it's not journaling and writing down things. Like, you need to talk to someone, or maybe even get on some medication, and that's okay. And I hope that, as mental health issues keep arising more and more, that people are less nervous, or, there's less stigma about getting the help that they need.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I got on medicine. When Rich died, I was having a hard time sleeping. I was having a hard time processing things. I was trying to be a dad of two little, munchkins and be a good husband. And in the back of my head, I was struggling with it. And I remember I went and spoke with someone, and I think I got on like 5 milligrams of Zoloft at the time, which was like a very mild dosage. And it helped. It helped me sleep. It helped me kind of just level out. There's a reason that those medicines work, and there's a reason that talking to people work. You just have to find the right person and the right medicine and the right, situation to help you get through that time.
Fast forward. I mean, we all have been through a lot over the past couple of years. And I think gym owners, and just anyone has been through a lot. There's a lot of changes that have happened. People lost their jobs, or they're now working from home and trying to manage kids and do all the things. I mean, I personally had never struggled with any type of mental health issues until 2021. I always look at the bright side of things and never really struggled. And it wasn't until this year, you got COVID in March. I got COVID first, then you got COVID, and I took you to the hospital and watched you not do so well for a few days before you went to the hospital. And when I took you to the hospital, it was like, I don't know, like a light switch or something happened. I was so nervous because you watch everything that happens on TV and on the news. I don't know. I was so nervous taking you there. And thankfully we had the church. We actually had someone in our little prayer group meet me at the hospital. Melissa Gott, I will forever be thankful for her. And she walked around the church with me and we prayed.
The parking lot of the church.
Yeah, we walked around. We walked around the hospital and she just prayed with me and for you. And luckily you were out pretty quick, but I really struggled after that. We were home quarantined for 2 weeks, so no one saw me struggling for 2 weeks, right?
Yeah, and I think, to be honest, I mean, I said this at dinner last night, and I didn't mean to, you didn't take it offensively, but I said, I think it's when people, like when you went through this, it was, I mean, clear as day. I mean, you walked into the gym one day and Shayla, our pastor, was like, "What's wrong with Nicole?" She immediately picked up on it, whereas not everybody you pick that up on. I mean, with Rich, I mean, there's a lot of people that walk around with it. And, and up to recent with, how this weekend went. I mean, I feel like some guys and girls probably do it too. It's like we cover up and we hide it and we fake it and we put on this front like everything's fine. And like the whole world feels like it's crumbling around us. And we don't want people to see that. And so we put up this front that's not really who we are and what's going on in our current situation.
No, I think for me, I felt, we had quite a few people at the gym get COVID, and luckily everyone was completely fine. But the pressure of being a place that potentially people got COVID, and no one's gotten COVID from the gym since then. It was one incident, but I mean, man, the pressure of that. And then I had been talking to gym owners. So we have the mentoring company where there's hundreds of gyms around the world that are running our nutrition program. And I'm talking to gym owners and coaches, and I hear the mentors, and this is a global issue. Everyone's just struggling so much. And I think the pressure of all of that, well, at the time, it didn't seem like it was bothering me. I just it was, my foot was on the gas as hard as it could be to help support people and help them. It caught up to me all at that time. And I could not see light. I was doomsday every day. We were talking about it last night at dinner, and it was a total of 4 months that I literally would stare at my computer. I didn't sleep. I didn't eat. I was throwing up. It was crazy.
You didn't work out? I asked you to go to the gym. I said, "Come on, babe. I tried to get you off the couch at 7 a.m. and you normally get up at 4:30. I'm like, "Come on, we're going to the gym." You got up, you walked to the bathroom and started dry heaving. And I'm like, this isn't good. Something's going on. I'd never seen you like that before. And it freaked me out for sure and made me worry. And I was struggling. I couldn't snap you out of it.
And that's all I wanted. I remember you asked Shayla, "Hey, I need some help for Nicole. I'm not doing anything. If anything, it's getting worse at this point. Get me some help." And she would, text me often, and I would go over to her house and we'd just sit. And I was not myself, and I knew it, and it was so frustrating, but I couldn't get out of it. And I ended up talking to a therapist twice a week for quite some time.
Yeah. And it wasn't, I think it's important for everyone to know too, is that the first person we found wasn't the right fit for you. And I remember I've seeked therapy several times in my career as a firefighter and, different situations. And I remember after 2 weeks, you're like, "Just tell me how to fix it, lady." You were "Just tell me what to do and I'll do it." Cause you have a history of outworking a lot of people, and you wanted to outwork this. And I said, "Nicole, this isn't just going to flip a light switch and get better." And you wanted to quit. And we ended up finding someone different.
Yeah.
Who was such a good fit, who you still talk to. I mean, Sarah is amazing. And I think it's important for people to not give up, because I could look back and see you just quitting and not pursuing another one because the first one didn't work, right?
Yeah, I think that. And, I was so embarrassed by the whole thing, to be honest. As I was going through it, we didn't talk to anyone about it. Even my best friends from college, who I'm so close with, they had no idea what was going on. There were a very small handful of people that knew something was up, because they were just around, Christy, our neighbor, and she would just come over and sit, and I would just cry. And it was the weirdest thing. I couldn't get over it. I'm so thankful. We have great health. And that's what I kept telling the therapist. I'm I should be so thankful for everything that we have. We have two amazing kids that are super healthy. I have a really amazing relationship with my husband. Like everything is great, but in my heart, like the story I'm telling myself is everything is wrong.
It's the world's coming to an end. I mean, the sky was falling every day for you. And
man, it was a struggle.
And I felt that. I remember, and it's tough because I think people think they see us and we're always happy and we're type A and we're go-getters. And it's like, we struggle just like everybody does. And I remember this was probably the toughest pill for me to swallow. No pun intended here. I was taking flying lessons and I was trying to get my pilot's license, and I had gotten off medicine. I was fine with it for a year. I thought I was. And to be a pilot, to get your private license, you can't be taking, any antidepressants. And I didn't think I needed them. So I stopped taking them, and fast forward to, I think about this June or July, I remember looking at Nicole and saying, we were on the couch, and you never want to say this to your wife, fellas. It's just, you don't say this, but I looked at her and said, I don't feel joy right now, and I'm not finding joy in our life. And I have a beautiful wife, 2 kids. I have everything I could ever ask for, and I wasn't finding joy. And it hurt to say that, but that right then and there, I knew I had to something had to change because I want to feel joy in life. And so I started going back and talking to somebody again, same person I've been talking to, and I got back on medicine, and it's a very small dose. I remember going to our neighbor's house, that we go to church with, and I said, I'm just going to tell him, there's no reason for me to be embarrassed. There's no reason for me to say, hey, I need some medicine. I go back to my business coach and a family friend of ours, Michelle, and she said, Jason, if I told you that I took medicine for my thyroid, would you judge me? And I'm like, hell no, I wouldn't judge you. Why would I judge you, Michelle? I love you. And she goes, well, everybody's chemicals a little off. And if you need a little bit of medicine to make your whatever's going up in that brain of mine be happy and find joy, then I'm sure as hell going to take it, because this life is too wonderful not to find joy in life. And I look back now and go, man, I wish I wouldn't have waited so long.
Yeah, I think, for every person, they handle things differently, right? Like you had a little bit of medication and you're able to find joy again and be happy. They're dancing in the kitchen on Sundays, which is my favorite part of the week, when you grab the spatula and you start lip syncing and having your own karaoke party, and the kids and I just laugh at you. But it's just so much fun. And, I think Michelle played a vital role in helping me process through what I was going through. I remember at one point she had said to me, and you had reached out to her saying hey, my wife needs some help. And she had said, Nicole, what brings you joy? And I looked at her, I go, I honestly don't know right now.
Yeah.
And she was like, well, what brought you joy before March? And I said, when I talked to gym owners, that is when I'm the most happy. And with the company, the way it grew, I had taken myself off of all mentoring calls. I wasn't doing any training calls. I was on this because I thought that's what I needed to do as the business leader, is manage the team and strategic vision and create all this stuff, and not actually do what I set out to do when I started the company, is talk to gym owners and help them. And she goes, well, I think you need to start talking to gym owners 3 a week. Just book 3 mentoring calls with you a week. And I reached out to the team. And you actually had reached out to Lindsay, our chief of staff, before this, but I had reached out to the team and was like, guys, I need to get on mentoring calls for me. I'm not taking anything away for you, but I need this to get me back. And they all were like, okay, whatever you need, we need you back too.
Yeah, that was, I remember I can look back and laugh now. It was not funny, but I remember coming in and you were sitting in front of the computer on a staff call. And I just was like, you can't do this. You cannot be the face of Healthy Steps Nutrition right now, because it's I said, if we're on a plane and it's turbulence, the last thing you want to hear is the captain going, guys, it's not good. You're the captain of the plane. I want to hear it's going to be fine. And you weren't able to do that for a little while. And so I remember taking a walk around the block, and I remember doing a lot of crying. And I called our chief of staff at the time, Lindsay, who I'm so thankful for at the time. She really stepped up, helped me understand that everything was going to be okay with you, and know that everything was going to be great in her hands. And I said, you need to be the face of Healthy Steps Nutrition. And so I get my girl back on track. And she did. She stepped up, and the whole team stepped up, and now I'm forever thankful for that. But I think for us, it's what can we do to help people? And obviously being vulnerable and coming on a podcast and telling our innermost secrets of what we've struggled with is maybe one way we could help. But there's some things that we're going to do for our staff just so that we can be proactive moving forward, so that no other person feels like they don't have the resources, the help, or to know that, we've been through it too, and it's okay.
I think when I look back at the whole situation, we went to the CrossFit Games. I spoke at the CrossFit Games in July, and that was the light switch when it went back on. Like when we got around those people in the community and the gym owners that that's what brought me so much joy to begin with. And when I spoke at the games and we got home, it was like, all right, I'm back and I'm ready. And I was back. And I think that sense of community and being so intentional with surrounding yourself with people who have like-minded visions of you. And as a gym owner, a lot of times, or even just people that are working from home and they're isolated, you feel like you're on an island sometimes. And you have to be so intentional with connections. And when we're planning out strategic planning for 2022, the number one thing on both companies, Healthy Steps Nutrition HQ and for the mentoring program, is we will be so intentional with creating opportunities for our community to connect and build community. And that's on both ends, up for both companies. But you're right, we are going to start supporting our staff financially so that they can get the resources. I don't want not being able to afford mental health help to be the reason that someone doesn't get help. And I also want to be able to give them a list of people like, hey, these are people that I trust, and these are people that I think would be, that could potentially help you. They might be a good fit, they might not, but at least we will vet people to see if these people would be, awesome support. I know Sarah, goodness, she's amazing. I would recommend her to anyone. And to be honest, after I made a post back in, I think it was August, about, some of the stuff that I was going through. And I had quite a few people reach out to me afterwards saying Nicole, can I get the name of your therapist? Can I get, that help? I need that help. I'm struggling with what you're struggling with right now. And I need that. And it was great that someone had the courage to reach out to me even privately, just to say, hey, I need some help. And can you give me the name of that person? And of course, absolutely. No problem. And I even went on the Coastal Community podcast, kind of sharing the story and how the faith piece of it got brought in. Of course, we went and sought help, and we had the community aspect, but we got super close with our church and our faith during this entire journey.
Yeah, for sure. I remember going out and sitting outside of the church, and TJ came out and just prayed, and literally for 15 minutes just prayed for you, prayed for us. And they were constantly, friends were checking in on us. Once people started finding out in our small community at church and having those people and resources, man, you can't do life alone. I mean, they say it all the time. You don't do life alone. You need people in it. And COVID's really jammed us up. People don't even realize it. Some people think they're fine and they're not. And I think now's the time that we're coming out of this, that we are vulnerable. I mean, shoot, what do you say? You had a doctor on your podcast, and weren't antidepressants and meds up 33% for new cases or something like that?
Yeah, the new prescription meds. I'll figure out the exact percentage. I don't remember right now, but we had Dr. Nabdi. She came on a podcast, which we'll link in the show notes, and she was talking about how nutrition and the foods that you eat and supplements can, either help or not help, go in the opposite direction of anxiety, depression, and mental health issues. And I think that was probably one of my favorite educational pieces, episodes that we've done. And I know for us moving forward into 2022, from a nutrition coaching aspect and content that we're pushing out, this is a global issue. It is not just one person. There's so many people that are struggling with this. And if we can elevate the people who have resources to help people with this. Like, I know that I'm not a mental health counselor. I know that I cannot help people with that, but I know that I can point them in the direction of someone who can help them.
For sure. And I think, even at the fire department, they said, oh, well, we offer help. We offer help. There's posters everywhere. Ask for help. And it's got to be the right fit. I can't stress how important it is. People, guys, I know you're stubborn, you're tough, you're big. We get it. But deep down, all of us battle some things sometimes, and it's okay. And find the right person, because life is not worth living when you can't find the joy in it. And there's so many resources out there so that you can find joy and you can feel like it's, worth living every day. And you want to be the best dad, you want to be the best husband, all these things. And if you don't feel that, it's okay. Just get some help, because I don't want anybody to not feel like it's worth living anymore because they aren't happy, because you're just a ticking time bomb. Eventually, there's going to be something that triggers something. And that's what happens, I feel like, with the guys. It's like you don't see it. And then all of a sudden something triggers and you're not there. Somebody's not there when your trigger goes off to help you. And I want to prevent that. And I don't want to see anybody else's family go through that. I don't want to see kids being raised without a father, like saying, hey, what happened to dad, or what happened to mom? And it's, there's too much joy in life to feel that way.
Well, Jay, thanks for coming on the podcast and being a little bit vulnerable. And I hope this inspires someone to get some help. We, in the show notes, will put links to resources and tools for people to get some help. And if there's anything that we can do to help you, please reach out. Whew, that episode was heavy, but I hope that it inspires someone to get the help they need. When I think back to that season, March to July, when I was really struggling, there were a few things that really helped me get through it. The first one was the people that I surrounded myself with. I think when you're going through something, you don't want to weigh anyone down, but we all need community. And I think one thing that really COVID took away from us was that sense of a community. We're not meant to sit behind computers and work by ourselves, or we're meant to talk to people. We're meant to be in connection with people. I think, for us, for Jason and I, connecting with people at our church and our neighbors, and even if we weren't doing anything really fun, just sitting with people so that we were surrounding ourselves with people who could lift us up in that season. Also, the church. We go to Coastal Community Church in Parkland, Florida. They are absolutely amazing. Shayla and TJ, the two main pastors there, are absolutely incredible. I truly feel blessed that they're in our lives. I get to work out with Shayla almost every morning, and it's really fun. I've helped her on the fitness and nutrition side, and she has definitely helped me on the spiritual side. I look back to a year ago now, and I do something personally and with the business called The Big Three. And basically narrowing down your focus to find 3 things that you really want to focus on moving into the next year. And one of those things for me was spiritual growth. I always grew up in a church, but I didn't really do too much outside of that. And I knew that I wanted to get more involved in the church and grow my faith this year. And I leaned into Shayla. She was many steps ahead of me and was able to help me really get through that season. So I'm going to put a link to some of the resources that they have at Coastal. You could always watch their services online too on YouTube. And there is a podcast episode that I did with her talking about the spiritual side and how faith got Jason and I through one of the most difficult seasons, of our lives, really. So that was one thing. Another thing was just getting back into the gym and exercising and nutrition. Sleeping was another huge thing, just getting sleep. I think when we don't get sleep, just throws off everything. We're more stressed, and that definitely is not going to help anxiety or depression. Going back to what I said at the beginning, the goal of this episode was really just to bring light to some of the things that there are so many people struggling around. I think this isn't just a Florida issue. This isn't just a U.S. issue. We have nutrition coaches all over the world, and they're all saying the same thing, that people are really, really struggling with this. I know at Healthy Steps Nutrition HQ and for our mentoring program, we talked at the last staff meeting about us providing some financial resources and giving our teams people that they can go talk to. Not that they will share anything with us, but I just want to make sure that people are getting the help that they need. I was recently looking up some statistics, and one of the most mind-blowing statistics was 24.7% of adults with a mental illness report an unmet need for treatment. This number has not declined since 2011. And, I think it's unfortunate, sometimes we, especially as business owners, as leaders, you don't want to ask for help, but you have to realize that we all need help sometimes. And there are professionals, there are people that can help you get through a season that you might be in if you are struggling. So again, I hope this episode just brings some light and helps people realize that they're not alone. And again, if you need anything at all, we are here to help you. And I am going to help you find someone that a professional that can truly help you get through a tough season. Well, that is probably the toughest episode that we've ever recorded. Next week, we have a really awesome, uplifting episode on performance nutrition that is available. Please don't forget to subscribe. And if you know anyone who is struggling with mental health issues, anxiety, depression, please feel free to share this episode with them. I really just want people to feel like they're not alone. I think we're all in this season this year that's been a little bit tough over really the past 2 years, and it's okay to ask for help. All right, we'll see you back here next week.